So what I did is I took the manuscript and I sent it to 4 different publishing companies, among them Peter Schiffer. Now this is when the old man was still alive.
Yeah.
And I got rejection notices from the other 3. I come home one night after a service call, 10 o'clock at night. This is in
10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, this is in 1997.
Yeah.
And Carol says, this English guy called,
Okay, on Facebook.
and he wants you to call him. He said he doesn't care when you get in. He doesn't care how late it is. He wants you to call him. He left his home number. He left his beeper number. He left everything. So I called his home number. Peter Schiffer speaking. You could tell he's a lineman.
If I was
Because
this morning, I'm like, I didn't
Yeah.
see any late. I'm
I
like,
said, it's,
I hope
it's
they're
Jeffrey
not
Lawton.
doing
He said,
so bad.
do I know you? Well, I said, my wife said you called me about my book. Oh. He said, you're the one that wrote the bingo book. And I said, yes, sir, that's right.
Yeah.
He says, I want to publish your book. Now, I had sent him, I'm getting ahead of
He's
myself.
sitting there, I'm
He says,
sitting here.
send me an
exactly, you
example
know,
of the book.
And we're going back
I
and
sent
forth.
him the
I said,
first
"Take
chapter.
that, Don."
I sent him the last chapter. He
Yeah,
called
it's all
me
good, man.
a week later.
Oh, good.
We want to publish the book.
Yeah.
Send in your contract.
You'd have me a ball.
Terms of the contract are firm.
Yeah, yep.
Something was wrong between the three.
Well,
I mean, it's
what
over.
about if I want to make a change? So if you want to make a change, find somebody else to publish it.
Whoa.
Contract details are firm. Okay, what's firm? He says, I publish the book. I incur all expenses. I guarantee
X amount.
Picture in the warehouse.
all the copies you'll ever need.
Glasses.
Yep.
That's what I said to my.
Excuse me.
God bless.
Thank you.
Eddie's got this picture.
I will pay
This is
you
in the
$1 a
Walmart.
copy for every book I sell.
It takes self-confidence.
And you have to do
Started
nothing
it off.
other than
I'm
you
like,
approve
"You're
the
bad."
galleys and you work with the editor to make sure everything's
And like
right.
I called Michael, I'm like, yo,
So send me the
Facebook
contracts, you got a
you're
deal.
not jumping in.
Sign
He's like,
contracts.
well, you know.
So
I'll look at it, he
1998
looked at it.
comes
He
along,
never looked at it, and I was so mad.
and I sent him the whole book.
Because Mike would have been
And
like,
the editor
Yeah,
right in the
right.
middle
asked
of all
me.
of it, agitating.
says a lot of these pictures
She would have been agitating
we
Don and
can't
me.
use. Well, I said, what are you talking about? Well, they're bitmaps.
They're-
Well, yeah,
They're what?
bitmaps. Old,
It's,
old technology
Oh.
photographs, low resolution. Says we need high res digital. I said, all right. I had to go back to everybody who sent me photos. This is over 8 years.
Wow.
I said I need the photos back, and I had to wait to make the photos better. And I said I can. No. You send us the photos. We make them on our equipment. Oh, okay. Well, what I did is I copied each photo on my own equipment, which was pretty good in those days.
Yeah.
Then I sent them the originals, because I figured this way, push comes to shove, I can send the owner back a really good copy, and maybe they won't know it. Long story short, we get the book published. Now I had to get permission from every one of these people who sent me photos
Yeah.
to use them, signed. And I
Yeah.
had to provide those to Schiffer. Okay, good. Done deal.
I
1999,
signed some.
they signed something which I kept,
That includes you, Butch.
and the book got published. And the rest is history.
Yeah. 99.
Painstakingly transcribed every word you said.
He's talking
Even-
about a second book.
Even the way you said it. And that book came out, and I went through the history of encyclopedias, volume 1, 2, and 3, to find out whatever I could find out. And I found out a lot of stuff, which I incorporated, and I gave, my bibliography on that book was damn near as long as the book. I mean, I'm exaggerating, of course, but that book got published, and in the introduction, I talk about the very beginning of bingo machines, the first one that was ever made, and how Don Hooker, who was the father of Bally Bingos, and how Lynn Durant was the father of
United.
how they got together, and I had all of that in the introduction, and then I put down, I said, when you read this book, you'll understand how unique this hobby is, blah, blah, blah. I forget the word I used. Pleasure. And actually, for me as an author, the second book was really better than the first because it was more historical and more
Yeah.
informational
Of
as far
course,
as the
he ought
hobby.
to know. He wrote it.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Plus, your first book, your
first
original
book was
title
good.
was your story. It
And you know
wasn't
what?
the bingo story. It was your story
The
on the
reason
bingo.
why the first book is still selling is because it's my story, and people can see that when they read the book.
Hell yes. People love stories.
And I get people still call me to this day saying, I've read your book 3 times, 4 times. I love it.
I only read it once.
I love it.
I read it a few times.
I'm gonna read it a second time when I get
Myself.
the manuscript.
But it was, it was fun putting it together. And then when people say, well, why don't you write a book on baseball machines? Why don't you write a book on bowlers? I said, because number one, it's 10 years a book. I don't have that many more years that I want to put into another book.
And you figure it took, of course, it took your whole life
Yeah.
to know what you know
Exactly.
about gambling pinballs, like
Yes.
me.
Yes.
I'm around them since I'm 14. You know, I just want to throw this in while we're talking about this stuff. My good buddy and your friend too, Bernie LeBlanc
Yes.
from Canada.
Yes.
I was at his place 5-6 times.
Oh, yeah.
Getting machines, and Bernie was down here too, a couple.
Yes.
Anyhow,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Me too.
the last gambling pinball I needed, I think I told you that. And if I remember, you have that in one of your books.
But I think I told you to go to see Bernie because I think he had it.
The last gambling pinball I needed to truthfully say that I own every gambling pinball Bally ever made. I needed Bally Acapulco, and I couldn't get that anywhere in the United States. Now Bernie, my good buddy, trying to talk, he's talking to big pinball collectors and that up in Canada, and saying that he has a friend in USA that needs an Acapulco bag because to finish his collection, you know, to truthfully say you own every one that was ever made. Now that's something, right?
Yeah.
And I think it is anyhow.
I think
But
it is
it
too.
took my whole life to do it. And here Bernie, this is the bottom line what I'm getting to. Here Bernie, one of his pinball friends in Canada knew a man in what the hell is that? But
Get him into a place.
But that time, what's that place called where
New
Shelley
Brunswick?
and Mommy and me and Bernie went and
Oh, don't trip over it,
that
Butch.
country, what was that?
Go back to Bernie
Yeah,
and this game.
so, yeah. So Bernie and my wife
Cut it for you?
and my favorite niece, Shelley, that you met her today,
Yes.
okay, and me. We went in my pickup and I went up to Bernie's house and then picked up him and then we went to Nova Scotia, okay, to get this Acapulco. That's the farthest I ever went to
Well, that's in
drive
another
for
time
one
zone,
game.
man.
So get this, I'll never forget it. When you're leaving Canada to go over the bridge to go into Nova Scotia, there's a big sign there and it says you're about to go over the longest bridge in the world over salt water. Okay?
Whoa.
It's 7 miles long, this bridge.
Yikes.
Now, to go from Canada into Nova Scotia, going over the bridge, it costs you nothing.
You gotta pay to get back.
But when you're leaving Nova Scotia to go into Canada, it costs you $35 a car. Or
Hi,
a
Chihuahua.
pickup truck. Now that, what it is today, I have
Yeah,
no
for heaven's
idea.
sake.
But I'm talking about, Jesus mighty, I'm talking about, I don't know how long,
Yes.
20 years ago
Uh-huh.
or more. But imagine it costs you $35.
Enjoy your day, Jimmy.
Well, I went to Nova Scotia, but I went on a boat,
Nice out.
and it cost a whole lot more than $35.
Yeah.
Well, that was a long time ago. 30 years ago, probably.
We went, night pickup and on the ship or the boat, whatever
But you got
call
the
it.
you got the game you wanted.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Acapulco.
He didn't try to pull a fast one at the last
Oh,
minute.
no,
That's
hell.
good. That's good. All right, it's time to
If
eat.
you gave me $1 million, I couldn't tell you what I paid.